Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Rick Thompson with the news.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is the news. It's May 8th, 2014, and I'm Rick Thompson. State-licensed medical marijuana labs in Colorado can no longer test samples from home growers and medical cannabis caregivers, crazy as it sounds. Instead, those labs can only work with licensed recreational cannabis stores, dispensaries, and infused product manufacturers. Now, that's part of some new testing rules, and the move focuses the Colorado's 7 licensed testing labs firmly onto the highly regulated businesses instead of focusing them on their individuals. Regulators want to ensure that these labs route all cannabis samples through the inventory tracking system, which dispensaries and retail shops also use. State officials began informing newly licensed labs of that ban in March, according to the Denver Post. And, of course, labs that want to continue serving only the medical marijuana market, where testing is not mandatory, they could theoretically skip getting a license and still serve individuals, but that sounds like a very risky business proposition. The first dispensaries in Illinois might not launch until well into 2015, months later than many entrepreneurs envisioned, after the state passed its medical marijuana law in 2013. The state did not set an initial timeline for when dispensaries would open, but many observers still expected them to be up and running in Illinois sometime this year. That state has released draft rules, and already advised them, covering the industry, and it's holding public hearings with written comments. Then they have to hammer out the final rules, and then they have to launch the application process for business licenses, etc. Illinois will license up to 60 dispensaries and 21 cultivation operations. You know what? Starting a medical marijuana business in Massachusetts also not for the faint of wallet, according to the Marijuana Business News Daily. A company that received 2 of the 20 provisional dispensary licenses awarded by the state figures they'll shell out about $9 million in startup expenses. Now, that'll open their 2 storefronts and a cultivation facility later this year. About $3.8 million of that would be infrastructure costs, and $5.2 would float the entire operation until its projected break-even point. Imagine this, it's $9 million in startups, break-even point, the first quarter of next year. They estimate businesses will bring in $9.8 million in 2015, assuming that each person purchases 1.6 ounces per month, and that looks at a revenue of $19 million by 2017 and a peak patient count of 3,200 in 2016. Now, of course, this just underscores the enormous capital cost required to open a medical marijuana business in a restrictive market. Entrepreneurs in less restrictive states like Colorado, California, and Washington State often started their businesses for just tens of thousands of dollars, but that will not be the case in newer markets like Massachusetts, Nevada, and Illinois, where entrepreneurs will need to spend possibly millions to get off the ground. Now, this Saturday, the Toledo Hemp Conference will be held from noon until well after midnight in that little old town just south of the border. I'll be emceeing this event. The featured speakers would include the event host Kevin Spittler, a friend of this show, author Doug Fine, Steve Sharp, Stacy Tice, Denise Palasella, and representatives from various Ohio advocacy organizations. There'll be music and bands, 2 stages, hemp beer, if you're into that. The cannabis will be on site, and that's at the Main Street Bar and Grill at the Main Street in Toledo, just less than 1 hour south of Detroit. And on Sunday, in Richfield Park near Flint, there'll be a Mother's Day celebration in honor of all children lost, passed away, or taken. It's called the Up and a Love celebration. You can send up a heart-shaped balloon containing a message to that missing loved one. The event is free to all, but donations are welcome to offset costs. The event is being hosted and sponsored by Steve and Maria Green, and of course they are famous internationally as the Free Bree Parents. Folks, we were met in the House Judiciary Committee today. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. It was an interesting experience. Some new things were proposed. Some behaviors were exposed. And it should be very good fodder for later on in the program today. I certainly hope that we'll get a chance to discuss it. And, folks, that is the news. It's the 8th of May, 2014. I'm Rick Thompson. Thanks for listening.